Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic, let me remember, today's topic is mending fences and looking at what it takes um, to choose between being right and choosing to forgive and what that looks like. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get settled in and present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and imagine clean, crisp oxygen just flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream and nourishing all your cells and all your organs and bringing vitality and health and life into every part of you. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any stress. And now let's take another deep breath in. Hold it in this time. Imagine sparkling white light lighting you up, moving into every molecule, every electron, every corner of your being and beyond, connecting you with the world beyond. And as you exhale, exhale any stress, any remaining tension, maybe roll your shoulders. And now let's just take a minute to get present to our physical body by touching your palms together and softly rubbing your fingers against your palms, gently, gently, just to feel how delicious that tickling and tingling is and that wonderful sensation, just to bring you present right here, right now. And it's Friday already. The days fly by. I don't know if that's true for you, but it sure is for me. And today's topic is mending fences. And I think it's a really, really important topic. We're coming into holiday season and family connections. And it's often, even without a pandemic, it can be a very stressful, challenging time. And family rifts uh, create lots and lots of tension. And when we're talking about mending fences, we're not just talking about family, but I can speak from my own experience, having experienced a lot of different rifts with different members in my family, just to see what it takes, or to start looking at what it takes to mend fences and to heal relationships. And I think we get to look at this in all different contexts. But hello, Vanessa. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you here. Thanks for saying hi. We're talking about mending fences, and I think that we can see the need for this on all different levels, from micro to macro levels. But right now, I'm talking about family relationships, especially, and mending relationships within family. And I think mending any relationship takes a choice to value the relationship above the differences. And I think that this is a really interesting thing to be looking at, um, this prioritizing of value. So if I what let's look at what challenges relationships. So one of the things um, that happens in relationships is we have a feeling of I'm right, you're wrong, you've wronged me, and um, therefore, I'm done. Or you our ideas are so different, and I believe that my ideas are more important than the relationship. And in some cases that's going to be true. So we get to really evaluate, uh, our is our connection more important than our differences? And the thing that I see in family is that the family bonds are often strong enough to give us the incentive to overcome our feelings of being aggrieved, to find some kind of forgiveness. And I wonder, well, what I see obviously is that time is a factor, like immediately after an altercation, it's hard to come back together and be forgiving. It seems that time can do one of two things. I don't think that time heals all wounds. I think also, depending on how we utilize that time, we can make those wounds fester even more deeply. But oftentimes, the justification. Good morning, Dido. As always, thrilled to have you here. And welcome, Tammy. It's great to have you here as well. I so appreciate all you guys chiming in and being part of the conversation. So it's interesting to me how much we do endure in the context of family, and how much we are willing to, even if we don't forgive, to the best word is endure, I guess. It's interesting because I'm watching some dynamics playing out in my family, and what I see is that there's a deeper will to maintain connection, even if it's superficial. Sometimes that's the answer for us, I think, is to say, okay, well, family is family, and I want to maintain my relationships, even if we don't agree, even if we don't get along, even if I feel that I've been wronged, even if I have deep ambivalence about the relationship. I want to find a way to maintain the connection. And oftentimes the best way to do that is to bring ourselves into sort of a superficial, talking about the weather, avoiding hot topics, avoiding politics, avoiding the places where we've gotten into conflict, and maybe even minimizing contact enough so that we can keep that superficial distance. The interesting question is, why do we do that? It's interesting. It's interesting to see how we'll constrain ourselves in order to maintain connection. And I don't have answers for this. I just find it really fascinating, and I do, particularly with family, I do believe that if we can find a place of reconciliation, even if it is on a superficial level, some place of peace within, that's in alignment with ourselves, that doesn't violate our own values, that allows us to be in alignment and authentically uh, engaged on whatever level. It's such an interesting dance, to say, is it more important for me to be right? Because this is often a source of conflict in families, right? I know better, or um, I I have challenges with what you believe, period, or believe about me, and therefore I I'm going to fight that. and is it more important to be right or to maintain the relationship? And so Tammy says it's what we don't say to keep peace in the family. So it's interesting, Tammy, that we call that peace, because really it's just like all this turbulence brewing under the surface, right? That we're pacifying by being polite or whatever. And so Vanessa says, um, I'm not sure what you're saying. I stepped over my right and pain for my uncle. Oh, my right and my pain for my uncle. Um he wanted my fight with my nice to be in the past. He was very hurt over it. He loves us too much and he wanted to be in contact with me again. So what I'm understanding, Vanessa, is that there was a challenge uh, that you had with your uncle, and he was very hurt, and he wants to be in contact, and you're not so sure. Is that essentially what the situation is? It's interesting. I remember there were feuds in my family over, it's usually over silly stuff. Um, Vanessa says, sorry, I'm from Holland. Don't be sorry. That I love that you're communicating. I loved my uncle enough to let it be in the past. I just don't want to talk about it. I was in a fight with his daughter. Oh, I understand. Okay. So you were in a fight with his daughter, and he's upset that you guys are fighting, and he wants to make it be better. And you love him. You just want to let it be in the past and don't want to talk about it. I get it. And, and you know, um, I used to be somebody who had to talk everything through. And and what happened a lot in trying to do that was that it often dug the hole deeper. And sometimes it's just better to let bygones be bygones. The thing is that uh, they're not really bygones if we're holding that anger and holding um, that hurt, right? So it makes me think of how when we hold our uh, an anger around somebody else or around something that's happened between us and someone else, that it's not hurting them, it's hurting us. It's right. And so when it hurts us, uh it kind of, we're angry at somebody else. They've gone beyond or past whatever it is. They're not being bothered by it. We're holding our upset around it. And who does it hurt? Us. So Vanessa says, I worked it through by myself. I'm not angry anymore. Thankfully, that's awesome that you're not angry anymore, because the anger doesn't hurt them, it hurts us. And so I guess mending fences isn't necessarily having to talk it through. It might be coming to that place where you and yourself are complete about it, and you don't have to continually uh, have that incident in the middle in your communications, in your relationship with somebody else. And um, I think, what is so interesting in this situation that I'm watching play out in my family, uh, one family member was repeating or telling me what their story was about the relationship and the history of the relationship. And I say story. Thank you. Ross says replaying old stories. Exactly. So here's the thing. What I got to say to this family member was, life is the stories we make about it, right? So all these events that occur in our lives, we then create a context or a story around those events. And then we live as if that story is true. And what I had the opportunity to say to this family member is, we get to write our own stories. So you can make up this story about that's a tragedy, or you can make up a story that is empowering, and you can be saying, well, this is an opportunity for new beginnings. You can create, you do create the narrative, and the narratives that we create are the source of our struggle and our suffering, or they're the source of our inspiration and encouragement. And so it's not a matter of truth. And that's the problem with with this um these relationships, is that we start believing our stories, and then we have a sense of righteousness around it, our righteous rage and indignation. And what does that win us? It wins us the anger and the suffering and the struggle and the separation, whereas we can create an entirely different story. We can say, this person did this to me. Well, and I'm not saying this is in all cases. There are times when people are just doing bad things repeatedly, and you have no responsibility to be putting yourself in that circumstance. In fact, you get to look at how not to. However, the thing that I see in my family and I see in life is that when we allow people to be who they are and not make who they're being about us, like, it's not about me that you're snippy or short-tempered or insulting or whatever. It's about you. Instead, if I'm able to allow that, and not take it in, then it gives me freedom to choose how to navigate that situation, instead of feeling reactive or feeling indignant. Or because if you're insulting me, that's really on you. It's not about me unless I choose to make it about me. And the things that I get indignant about are, again, hurting me because I'm indignant, right? I'm having that upset. I'm experiencing that upset and rage. And sometimes that's a healthy thing. I'm not saying that there aren't moments where it's a survival strategy to be able to get angry and indignant. Sometimes that's exactly what's called for. And the thing is, when we harbor those things internally, that's where it becomes self-destructive. And what we get to do is what Vanessa did, is she worked it through, and she's not angry anymore. She's released the anger. That's an important thing for our own well-being. And so part of the mending fences thing is not so much about the other person, but it's more about our own welfare and our own well-being. And I think this is an important thing, especially as holiday time arises, because holidays can be super, super stressful. And now we've got an already stressful environment with COVID and other world circumstances. That, hello, Christina, welcome back. It's great to see you here. She says freedom. Exactly. It's about freedom. The freedom to choose, the freedom to breathe, without being laden down by all these intense and potentially negative emotions, right? Freedom to be more fully ourselves, because frankly, I don't believe that any of us, when we get to choose in the ultimate way, I don't believe any of us would choose to be angry. That's not our most desired state, let's say. In certain instances, like I said, anger can be a profound defense and survival mechanism, and it can be valuable in that capacity. And at some point, that anger really starts to consume us. And so, Tammy, welcome, welcome. It's great to have you here. Tammy says it's difficult when the person who's the cause of the discord will not acknowledge anything. They just say, well, better you be mad than me. Okay, so Tammy, you might not like hearing this, but the it's never one person. So the person who's the source of the discord did whatever it is that triggered you. And I'm going to say that really, in a certain way, we are each the cause of our own discord, because we're the ones that are reacting. So while I can say it's you that are the source of the discord, because you are the one that's responding that way, like you're experiencing the discord, it's in you, and it's the way that you're experiencing what that other person is doing. And this is a hard pill to swallow, because I'm not blaming you in any way. It's not about blame. What it is about is responsibility. And when we allow ourselves, Vanessa says it's not about them, Tammy, we're sort of saying the same thing. Um, Here's, like I said, it's a hard pill. So just bear with me here while I try and make it make sense. When we recognize that we are the ones that are reacting, that we are the ones that are responding, when we recognize that we have ultimate choice, maybe not in the moment, we get reactive, and this person did that, and I'm really angry that they did that. Ultimately, I get to look at, what am I angry about? That person's just doing what they're doing. And then I get to choose how to respond ultimately, maybe not in that moment, but ultimately. And here's the thing about that. If we take responsibility for that, then we have the ability to shape our own destiny. We're not at the effect of what other people do. Okay? When we interpret things, we are the ones that are creating the response within ourselves. So by shifting our interpretation, and sometimes that's a huge challenge. I'm not saying it's easy, Tammy. I'm just saying that when we take responsibility for ourselves and our own reactions, and don't put it on somebody else to give them the responsibility for our welfare, then we have freedom. Then we have much greater autonomy. And Julie Kiss, welcome, welcome. It's great to see you back here again. Thank you for chiming in. And Vanessa said, I did not choose to give in. I chose me and my peace in life. And exactly. So what we're saying is that when we choose to forgive, that is a gift that we give to ourselves. And I'm not saying forgiveness by allowing or justifying behavior that is not justifiable. I'm not saying that you're validating that behavior or saying that it was right. What I'm saying is that we get to release ourselves from the oppression of those really difficult negative feelings. So in a way, that person that person, Tammy, I'm sure it is enraging when you're upset that they say, well, better you be mad than me. They're making a choice not to be mad. and on some level you're making a choice to be mad. And I know that that's a hard thing to hear. I really do. And I when people told me that years ago, it just made me madder. So hopefully you're not getting madder. Hopefully you're just sort of, maybe it's helping you to move through the possibility, like to say, well, how would I be able to think about this differently in a way that I wouldn't have to be mad, that I wouldn't be so hurt, that I wouldn't be so upset. And it's it's not an easy transition, but I can promise you that it offers you strength and freedom and greater sovereignty for yourself. And Vanessa says yes, and Christina says this can be a hard one for sure. Yeah, it really is. But I can tell you for myself, I mean, there are things sometimes I get really angry, and when I get really angry, here's what I do now. I say, okay, what is it in me that got triggered that made me so angry here? What is it that about myself that this incident called into question, that I reacted to so extremely, and I can tell you that it's given me some tremendous insights when I've noticed, wow, I really got triggered by that. What is going on? What is it that got me? Something got me. And Julie says, I had to learn this life lesson as well. And you know what? We get to keep learning. But the trick is, in that moment that we get so upset, we get to say, okay, well, why am I so upset? And one of the things that I have found is that I have gotten really upset when I realize that I had an expectation. I had an expectation that somebody would behave differently, or I had an expectation that wasn't met. I had an expectation that somebody would treat me differently. And when that expectation was dashed, then I got upset. So Tammy says, thank you. Your perspective is appreciated. Much love to all. It has given me a lot to think about. Well, that's awesome, Tammy. And kudos to you for having the willingness, because this is really hard stuff. This is really a massive shift of perspective that is life altering, actually, because when we say that other person made me mad, we are giving power to them for our lives, for our well-being, for our welfare. And when we pull that power back to ourselves, it means some soul searching, but it is life altering because it gives us our lives back. And we are no longer victims. We can no longer be victimized because we take back our power. And we also get to learn more about ourselves. So sometimes it's not always pretty. It's not always pretty. Like I've seen and I remember a situation with somebody where I got really upset, and what I realized was it was it was challenging. It felt like my worth was being challenged, and what came back for me was realizing that there were places where I wasn't really secure in my self-worth. And that's why I got so triggered, was because this person wasn't seeing my value the way I wanted them to see it. And it wouldn't have upset me if I knew, if I felt 100% worthy through and through, it wouldn't have made any difference. It wouldn't have gotten me in that way. And so it showed me something that I got to work on. And Tammy says, yes, expectations, you're spot on. Yes. So in that situation, I expected someone to honor my worth in a certain way. And when they didn't reflect that back to me, I took it really personally. And that was because there was a place in me that was still feeling not quite worthy. So I think if we use our experiences with others and our altercations, and we take back ownership, then it makes it a whole lot easier to mend fences. Because if we recognize that our upset is and the triggers that were triggered are opportunities for us to grow and evolve, we can also sort of heal those wounds. And then there's the mending of the fences. It's an internal job, really. And then potentially we can mend that with the other person, who also might be super offended and super reactive. And Julie says, yes, 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 you are so right. Thank you so very much. Well, you're welcome. This is, like I said, this is a really, really big and important lesson for all of us. And if we all took responsibility for our reactions and for our feelings and really dug deep, used it as an opportunity to dig deeper and see it, gain insight into ourselves, then it also gives us profound opportunities for growth. And I just want to give all of you tremendous recognition, because it takes a lot of courage to kind of shine that light back on ourselves and say, oh, it's me. Okay, what do I get to learn from this, without vilifying yourself, without making yourself bad or wrong, just noticing it's not wrong to have triggers. It's just how it is. And when we get to see the triggers, then we get to move into healing them. So please don't use this as an opportunity to beat yourself up or for self-judgment. Just be a compassionate observer and recognize what's there, and lovingly look to heal those places that are calling out for attention. Okay, that's really what it is. And we can bring that generous caring to ourselves to move into a greater place of wholeness. So that's I think that's it for today. And I want to thank you for your courage, all of you, because again, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to look at yourself and notice the places that need healing. So on that note, let's look at the places that we might be able to mend fences internally and externally where appropriate. And until next time, this is a great way to end the week, I think. Until next time, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I'm here on the Enlightened World Facebook page, Enlightened World Network Facebook page, every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it's such a privilege to be with you and to share this time and conversation. And just as a parting word, Vanessa says, yes, I was so hurt at that time. I was pregnant and I was blamed for being happy about it because my other niece had lost her baby at 8 weeks. And I'm sorry that happened for you, Vanessa, because certainly you should be able to be really joyful and at the same time be compassionate for somebody else, but don't ever let someone take away your happiness. So with love and such appreciation for you, I hope to see you again here next week. Take care.